First things first, we're joined by NBA champion Steven Jackson. Steven, thanks for being with us.
Glad to be back. I missed y'all. I missed y'all.
Television star Steven
Jackson. Glad to be back. Glad to be back.
Good to see you, man. What, see? What,
man, put a suit on next time. Man. Where your wardrobe at?
It was raining.
Man, you got Timbos on and jeans and everything. Look, you ready to stomp somebody.
Yeah, man. I had to get a little comfortable today.
Okay.
I think you look great, Steve.
Thanks.
I wish I was wearing a sweater and jeans. All right, let's talk about the late game last night.
Timbos on them, too.
Rockets taking on the Timberwolves. Those are boots. This one closer than Houston would have liked. They did pull it out behind 44 points from James Harden. Chris Paul struggled. He only scored 14. Made some critical turnovers down the stretch. Steven, let's start with the positive, though. How impressive was James Harden's performance in Game 1?
I mean, this is what he's been doing all year. Aggressive on offense, making plays, making his team better. You know, I'm just more upset with Minnesota's defense. I'm thinking when you come into the playoffs with a guy like James Harden, every team has been letting him do whatever he wants all year. I'm thinking as soon as he gets the ball, you take it out of his hands
Blitz him.
and make Capella make a play, make somebody else make somebody else beat you. But I know Minnesota went in that locker room, and the coach looking at this guy's like, we couldn't have followed the game plan because there's no way we come into the playoffs expecting to beat these guys with James Harden getting 44 points. No way.
I mean, you mentioned the coach. I was asked this before the show. Do I think Tom Thibodeau's a good coach? And what I said is I think he's well-intentioned. I think he means the best. But I don't know if in 2018, if he has evolved to the game. No team's evolved more than the Rockets. The Rockets, their coach invented this brand of basketball in Phoenix, or helped popularize it, I should say. And then the Rockets, with the player acquisitions, the type of team they tried to build. Saw the stat yesterday. Trevor Ariza, 97% of his shots this year have either been threes or at the rim. 97%. Like, that's the type of player they want. And then you play up against Tom Thibodeau, who's maybe best suited for like 1997 NBA basketball, and for some reason or another, when you've got athletes that should be able to defend in Butler, in Wiggins, theoretically in Karl Anthony Towns, certainly in Taj Gibson and Gorgie Dang, like, you should be a good defense. And Harden goes and gets 44. You lose a game when everyone but Harden is 5 of 25 from 3. Like, and on the offensive end, how does Karl Anthony Towns have 9 field goal attempts? Jimmy Butler's got 11, and Derrick Rose has 14. Jamal Crawford's got 11. Like, none of that game. If you were going to steal one from Houston, even though Harden was great,
that's not the way to do it.
Right. That was the game. That was the game where they missed all their threes, and you couldn't steal it.
Right. Well, we know Minnesota was going to have a problem as far as either Chris Paul or Harden guarding them. Like, the guards that they have, besides Jimmy Butler, they're not great defensive guards, and especially the ones coming off the bench. When you're relying on Derrick Rose to come off the bench to be able to give you 23 minutes, like, we know that they've struggled defensively all year. So this is not going to be a defensive team to build, but you can make Harden give up the basketball.
Easy. Just take it out of his hands so you
blitz him.
Come across half court.
I thought the responsibility they put on Jimmy Butler was not fair to him. Jimmy Butler has missed a significant amount of time. He played the last 3 games of the regular season. And to play 36 minutes against Harden, that is not something that you expect even your superstars to be able to do. I believe that affected him on the offensive end. So you have to be able to come up with something to be able to blitz Harden, to get the ball, because Jimmy Butler, him and Karl Anthony Towns, they have to be more productive on the offensive end.
And then with Wiggins, like, you know Butler's coming off this knee surgery. You have to be willing to take that challenge to guard Harden, too. Yes, you have to be willing, but that's why Jimmy Butler's there. And you talk about the coach. The one thing about the coach that I like about him, he has the passion. He shows that he cares. He brings in guys that he knows that's hungry for the game. Like
and they did have a good game plan.
They did have a great game plan, but the passion and the paying attention to detail couldn't have been there, because there's no way you could pay attention to detail going into the playoffs against the MVP and expect to win with him getting 44 points.
So let me ask you about that, though, because James Harden's going to win the MVP this year, not LeBron. And if LeBron goes for 40, we don't often say, well, the other team should have done a better job. We say that was a great game by him. How much should we just be saying, man, Harden was hitting step-back threes, Harden was putting him in the torture chamber the entire game, that at some point it wasn't about the defense being played on him. It was about this guy at the peak of his powers, one of the 3 best players in all of basketball.
Well, we just got to do the stat. How many times have they lost when James got 40 or more?
Right.
I know that's not a good. I know they win way more when he get 40 more.
Yeah.
So especially
like
in the playoffs, you have to take away what they do better, and that's James Harden.
And at the end of the game. Let's forget about what the game plan was for 3.5 quarters.
Right.
At the end of the game, you know he's in his bag, as you told us. All right. So let's make him throw the ball somewhere else. The last 3 minutes of the game,
Right.
he got every shot that he wanted, or the lob late, or got to the free throw line. So that's the part that I had the biggest problem with. Like, a superstar is going to be a star, but at the end of the game, you could dictate what can make him do.
But nobody else was doing anything. I mean, were you concerned with what the rest of the Rockets were doing? Because they weren't.
Well, like you said, that was the game to get, because you're going to have games like that. But it's you got to stop him. Like, that should be your only goal. You can't sit there out there and just let him between the legs, behind the back, between the legs, step back three. Like, he's been doing this all year. So this couldn't have been in the game plan, and that's why I say those young guys on the team, Wiggins and those guys, they couldn't pay attention to detail, and the game plan couldn't have been that, because there's no way you can win the game giving James Harden 40-plus points any night.
And then at the knock on the Rockets for this game is going to be the way it ended. Like, and it was... Listen, I'm a believer in this Rockets team. Early on, I said they were the best team in the West. They're the team that I picked to win the championship a few months ago, and I've stood by it. But the knock is, how are these guys going to do in the critical moments at the end? And CP3...
When the pace is slow.
And just like, I love Chris Paul. I think he's one of the smartest basketball players ever. And what I brought up earlier is, and I want to know what you think about this, is at some point at those end-of-game situations, is his mind almost working against him? See, all you got to do is, they're going to foul you. They have to foul you. They're down 3 with less than 15 seconds left. You're a great free throw shooter. Let them foul you.
90%.
Yeah, I mean, in this spot, I don't know. I understand you thought you saw Eric Gordon there. He would never make that play in the first 3 quarters of the game. So, like, what do you make of that moment? Maybe I'm overemphasizing it.
Like you said, this is probably the smartest point guard, or one of the smartest point guards in the league right now. If he makes that mistake, you live with it, because you know he'll never make it again. I would love the ball in Chris Paul's hands anytime. Like I say, he's one of the smartest point guards. If James don't have it, of course he has to have it. But we got to remember, the game was close. Minnesota had a chance to win this game, but Houston didn't play well. So this was the game you were supposed to get. And in the playoffs, you have to get these type of games, because now with the players playing bad and winning, they might come back and the whole team might have a great game 2.
To answer your question, Rockets are 16-9 in the last 2 seasons when Harden scores 40 or more.
Nice record.
So you got to go in, and he has to be your number one.
Exactly. Got to be your priority.
All right, Steven, stick around. Coming up, how concerned should the Cavs be after dropping Game 1? That's next on First Things First.
Man.
Steven says very.
Ariza Tucker and